G'day guys, welcome back to your English Aussie. If you don't already know why Game Week 30 is a crucial week to Wildcard, I've left a link above to my Game Week 30 Wildcard video and also down low in the description where I explain why this is such a crucial strategy and how you will gain rank on your fellow managers. Right, now straight into the video, I will be rating your Game Week 30 wildcard teams that you have sent in to me. If you do want to be involved in the second version of this video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below with your social link, and please DM me on either of my socials, which you should see in the top of the screen, Instagram or Twitter, with a screenshot of your team and please your team ID so I can give you all the best information on your team. So first up, we have IBKA, Hakuna Mateta. Their team value are 104.7 million, and the chips they have already used is bench boost and triple captain. If you do want to check him out on Twitter, his @ is official__IBK. So looking at this team, I think it looks altogether a really nice team for Game Week 30. It's got a double up in Man City attack, which I thought is really interesting, really targeting that fixture against Leicester at home. I think that's really cool. I think Marmoush and Haaland have been really good working together and trying to sort of really maximize that upside by going with both of them in Game Week 30 is really interesting for a wild card. We also expect Man City to be doubling. It's almost certain, as either Aston Villa need to beat Preston North End or Man City need to beat Bournemouth for them to be blanking in 34 and therefore doubling at some other point. As well as this, you've also got 3 Newcastle players in your team for the confirmed double game week in 32, which I think is great. Some sort of suggestions for this team. I obviously don't want to make all these teams like sort of the team that I would go for. And evidently, you can see that this sort of team, you're obviously looking at Arsenal and Palace, or Palace to win in the FA Cup, and also Bournemouth hopefully to beat City, as well as Nottingham Forest to get one over on Brighton. Therefore you'll have more doublers in your team. Regardless of those doubles, I would look to get a third Crystal Palace player in here for the guaranteed double in Game Week 32. Where I would suggest you to go here is most likely to sort of replace Rushworth on your bench with a Henderson. That will allow you to have a double game week goalkeeper in 32 and potentially another double game weeker if Palace do make it through, and you can choose between Henderson and Raya in that sort of double game week. I think the way to facilitate this without losing the essence of what your team is and the sort of double City attack that's in there is I think you can make a downgrade of Gabriel down to Jurrien Timber. Over the last 5 game weeks, Timber has managed 26 points with 3 bonus points. Over the last 5 game weeks, Gabriel has actually only managed 24 points with just the 1 bonus point, and he's not scored a goal since Game Week 13. So I think this shift down to Jurrien Timber, who is around 0.6 to 0.8 million less than Gabriel, I think, at the moment, roughly, we should be able to facilitate you to be able to go Rushworth up to Henderson in your team and have that third Palace goalkeeper where you can then go for 6 double game weekers in Game Week 32. Some other considerations just for your team in specifically, given that you haven't used your assistant manager chip, I think the strategy for you guys is most likely to use your assistant manager between 31 and 33. You'll obviously be hoping for Crystal Palace to make it through the FA Cup, which means they might have 2 doubles in those 3 game weeks. In Game Week 31, they play Brighton. I think there is the potential that Palace could get the table bonus for that game. They're currently 5 places below them in the table. So therefore you could put Glasner in for 31 and then also keep him for 32 where Palace play Newcastle and Man City. They are 6 and 7 places above Palace in the table at the moment. So again, they could get 2 table bonuses in those games. And with Palace in quite nice form at the moment, there is potential for some large hauls there. Obviously, don't play your assistant manager until right at the final whistle, right until the deadline. There's no price changes for assistant manager, so it doesn't benefit you to click that button and bring in a manager until right up until the deadline. I'm imagining you're most likely going to be free hitting in 34 with this team. I do recommend that. I do think, especially given that you don't have bench boost and triple captain, still have assistant manager to play, it makes the most sense if you're using your AM 31-33 to free hit in 34 and then to work this team through the rest of the season. I think this wildcard team here gives you really fantastic team in game week 30. That will gain you a lot of rank on some other managers, and then it will also be a great team going forwards all the way through to game week 33. After you free hit in 34, hopefully you'll have a few transfers to use where you can switch out a couple of players and use your free transfer each week through to game week 38. But overall, I think a really good team. Maybe a couple of other considerations. If Bournemouth do lose to Man City, maybe you'd look to swap out a Kirkes and a Kluivert to potentially like a Minte or Mitoma in the midfield. If Brighton manage to beat Nottingham Forest, maybe Kirkes becomes a Van Heck or Estepinian in that case as well. Thanks a lot for submitting your team into me. That was really great, so I really appreciate that. Please, guys, if you do enjoy these videos, please give us a subscribe, like the video. It's just a small thing for you guys, but it really helped this small channel grow. We're really starting to pick up at the moment, so I'm really enjoying talking to all of you guys. And yeah, it'd be great if you can stay tuned. So moving on to our second team now, and that is Sean Walsh, Vaping Dad FC. Their team value is 105.6 million, and they have used assistant manager and triple captainships already. If you want to hit them up on socials, it's at Vaping Dad FPL on Twitter. And firstly, just a shout out to Sean. I'm not sure why you're asking for my advice, mate. I looked at your team and you're 3,000th in the world. So congratulations on that. Keep it up. And if you are watching my channel regularly, then I hope that we can have you in the live stream and the comments and hopefully help get you to that number 1 spot. I had a look. You're only 50 points off the top 200 in the world. So that is a really impressive feat, mate. Congratulations and keep it up. So looking at your wildcard team at the moment, I think it's another interesting team. Double West Ham with Areola and Jared Bowen. So I'm assuming you're expecting Brighton to beat Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, and therefore Brighton and West Ham will have that double. I do think Bowen becomes a really nice shout in that case. He's a player that not many people will likely have. Obviously, if this result does go the other way, Nottingham Forest were to win against Brighton, there isn't that double. I think maybe it's a bit of an easy switch. Perhaps you can just move Bowen to an Elanga and Areola to Sells. So just keep that in mind if that result sort of goes the other way. I think it's sort of an easy swap over. 3 times Bournemouth in that team. Obviously, Bournemouth with a tricky game against Man City in the FA Cup might not make it through. However, I do think the triple Bournemouth potentially is actually a really nice option regardless of the FA Cup results. Bournemouth do have a really nice fixture run, obviously targeting that Ipswich at home fixture, which has been a source of many goals, as well as the sort of Leicester and also Southampton fixtures. You've obviously got quite a lot of players across those fixtures. I think 8 in your starting 11, and then Salah, Bowen and Isak are playing the bottom 3 sides. So that is a really strong team, especially for game week 30. Bournemouth also then have West Ham, Fulham and Crystal Palace after that. So it is a good few run of games for them. Even if they aren't doubling all of these guys, or 1 or 2 of these guys could easily be in your team in most weeks there. A couple of thoughts just for this team. I think you've got Eze in here at the moment. I do think for Crystal Palace that Sarr is a little bit more of a good FPL option than Eze. I think he's a bit more of a goal threat for Crystal Palace. The way that they play in that sort of front three almost with Eze, Sarr and Mateta is Sarr tends to run on past Mateta. Mateta will either try and flick the ball on, pass the ball on to Sarr, or he'll hold the play up, push it back to Eze or Wharton in the midfield, who will then play those sort of cutting, incisive passes for Sarr to run onto. I think there was a period for Crystal Palace where those three have been working really well as a trio up front together. But I do think Sarr's dynamic running just does give him a little bit more goal threat. I do think Eze has threat going forwards. I think he's more of a shots from outside of the box sort of guy and arriving late into the box. And a little bit more of a creative assist threat than Ismaila Sarr. So for me, I think I'd probably just go for Sarr. He's also a little bit cheaper as well. So he could save you a little bit of money, which maybe you could use elsewhere in the team. And on that note, I think if you are backing Brighton to beat Nottingham Forest and double, I'm assuming you're also sort of hoping that Crystal Palace will beat Fulham, given that you've got the three Crystal Palace players in your side anyway for game week 32 double. I think then that could be an easy sort of upgrade of Anderson, perhaps to one of those Brighton defenders of Van Heck and Estepinian, and you'd have that money to do that sort of small upgrade if you did downgrade Eze to Ismaila Sarr. So I think maybe that's just a small tweak that perhaps I'd consider for your team. Finally, I thought Bruno Guimaraes is a super interesting option, and I do wonder whether you are a Newcastle fan to sort of have this knowledge of how important he is to their team. I think not many people know that this season that he's actually scored more points than Jacob Murphy. I think it's only by 4 or 5 points. I do think Murphy is slightly more of a goal threat and probably more likely to score on paper than Bruno. However, I do think if you prefer Bruno as a differential, just because he presses so high up the field, he often wins the ball back in those high, difficult areas for the opposition. He's involved in all the play, plays critical passes. He is a nice differential option if you do want to go for him. Just throwing Murphy out there as an alternate option for you. On your chips, obviously you've used your AM and triple captain already. You will have your bench boost available. I think most likely the best option for your bench boost is going to be game week 33 or realistically whatever week that the majority of the doubles go into. The reason I would say this is only if you have sort of 9, 10 or 10, 11, 12 really, doubling players in your team. Does it really matter what week you use the bench boost? Otherwise, I'd just be looking to use the bench boost at whatever week your bench is the strongest. Only if you really get to sort of the 12 players or sort of 11, 12 players, really 12 players that are doubling, does it really matter what week you use your bench boost? Because ultimately it's just going to be the 4 players on your bench. And I think if you do have Salah in the team, then I guess he's going to be playing regardless. So I think if you have 11 players that are bench boosting, say in game week 33, that would be the week to use it. If you don't have that and the FA Cup results don't fall how you want and you can't work that into your wildcard team, then I think just play your bench boost at whatever week suits you. I think with your sort of team, it might be that game week 31 is actually a really nice week to use your bench boost. You might have a really fantastic bench in that week, and you can use it there. So I think bear that in mind. Only if you really have 11, 12, maybe 10 players would I use a bench boost in that sort of week, in a week 33. Otherwise, just whatever's the best for you. Once again, Sean, thanks so much for submitting your team. And guys, if you are enjoying the content, please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. And if you do want to get involved and get your teams rated in future videos, please comment below with your socials, just like at Vaping Dad FPL, and send me a screenshot of your team and your team ID on that social, please, via DM, and I'll do my best to get you into the next video on this. On to our third team, and that is Lewis Jr., team name Manchester Lewirpool, team value of 105.5 million, and the chips used so far, bench boost, triple captain, and assistant manager chip. And if you want to catch him on socials, it's at LewisTHY09 on Twitter. Lewis, firstly, another shout out, a subscriber, a regular viewer, 30k in the world at the moment after amazing game week last week, mate. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. Thanks a lot for submitting your team this week. Looking at this team, I think the first thing that stands out to me is Bruno Fernandes. He's obviously a thorn in the side of many fantasy managers this week, or a feather in the cap of those that managed to have him in the side or even to captain him this week. A huge differential, I think, going forwards. And if Manchester United do make it into the next round of the FA Cup, with Bournemouth obviously needing to defeat Manchester City for that to happen, Bruno Fernandes would be a magnificent pick if Man United therefore then doubled in potentially game week 33. Outside of that, and looking at this team, I think one of the interesting things to note is obviously that you haven't gone for the triple Palace, triple Newcastle for the double game week 32, and I think that's okay. It's fine to have some like a different sort of team, and this team definitely is different. I do think it would be nice to have maybe one or two more of those guys so you can maximise that upside in game week 32, and if Palace do get through to the next round of the FA Cup, they would be doubling again. So Crystal Palace are the only team at the moment that have sort of one extra game still to play at the moment with their double, along with Newcastle at the moment. So looking at his team, I think that one of the other things that I'd like to comment on is Bryan Mbeumo in the midfield. Now, for me, I think Brentford's fixtures are really not that nice over the next sort of 4 or 5 game weeks. They've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, and Nottingham Forest. So from an attacking perspective, I think that's really not a nice run of fixtures for Bryan Mbeumo. And he's somebody that I think in this team that I'd look to move out. A couple of options that I've got for you. Potentially you want to go into a Palace or a Newcastle player, and maybe you want to go into a Murphy, a Bruno, as we've seen today, or an Ismail Assar or an Eze. The other option that I've got is maybe a Savinho. Savinho started the last 6 games for Manchester City, is somebody that can look to haul in certain games, can look to feed the likes of Mamouche and Haaland. And with Manchester City having a really nice run of fixtures and most likely a double game week as well in game week 33, this could be something interesting that you look to go to. Obviously, that would also be a downgrade, so you'd have extra money to use elsewhere if you were looking to upgrade some other players. The standout I see here to upgrade is Valdemarsson in goal. Obviously, he's Brentford's backup keeper. So if you do downgrade Mbeumo to one of those players, that does leave you some flexibility to potentially upgrade Valdemarsson. I think what I'd recommend is I would go for a Nick Pope of Newcastle to have that third Newcastle player in there. The reason being is that you'll have a double game week goalkeeper in game week 32 with 2 nice fixtures. And then later down the line, if Palace do go through the FA Cup, then Raya will be doubling for Arsenal. So you have another opportunity at a double game week goalkeeper. If you don't have the money for that, potentially you could go to a Henderson or potentially you could go to a Sells of Nottingham Forest. And the other sort of shout out for this team is Ibrahima Konate of Liverpool. I do think Liverpool do have some nice fixtures over the next sort of 4 game weeks or so. However, I know that Konate is currently playing with an injury. Liverpool's defence is very thin at the moment. And if Liverpool do manage to wrap up the league in the next sort of 4 games, he is someone that might be rested in the future. I think that's something just to keep an eye out for. Potentially you're thinking of transferring him out later down the line, maybe after that game week 34 in game week 35, and that's fine if that's sort of what you're looking to do. Obviously, with the fact that you've used all 3 of your chips already, I would recommend just using your free hit in game week 34. It seems like the most sensible thing to do, the easiest way to manage through that blank game week. And then you can look to use your transfers in 35, 36, 37, 38 to sort of maneuver your team into the situation that you'd like. Obviously, again, congratulations on that 30k. If you guys are enjoying this content, please remember to subscribe, to like the video. If you do want to take part in the next video and have your team rated, please follow the instructions that I've given. I know a couple of you have sent screenshots without your team IDs. Please make sure you send your team IDs to me so I can include all this detail, give a view for you guys going forwards, what you'd like to do. That is important because if you have used some of the chips, perhaps you've already used your free hit, that really does make a difference to what I would be recommending for your wildcard teams. So please help me out by giving me all the information. Comment below on this video with your social name. So that's what I'll be going off when I'll be selecting the teams, the comments below in this video. If you have enjoyed this, please smash the like button, please subscribe, and I'll try to do a few series of these if you guys like it over the upcoming game weeks. And then of course, when that FA Cup results land, I'll be straight out with a wildcard draft for you guys. So yeah, thanks so much for your support, for watching the channel. This has been your English Aussie, and I hope you guys all have a great week. Enjoy the couple of weeks off, and yeah, I'll catch you guys soon.